Alright, we're going to go ahead and continue on with Zero Escape, 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. We're going to go through door number 3, check that out, and if necessary jump back in the timeline and go a different path toward all the remaining endings we want to try and get.
Nope, you can't. Huh? Why? Because it's impossible. If we split ourselves into 3 and 3, then we give up on going through door 3. Why? Bracelet numbers for the 6 of us are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 2 combinations that can go through door 3 with 3 people. 3, 4, 5, or 6, 7, 8. That's it. Of course, 2 teams can't go through the same door.
I see. That means one team would get left behind.
That's right.
That doesn't happen if we go through door 7 or 8?
No, they're fine. We've got 3 options.
Santa began to explain.
Option A, have 3, 5, and 8 go through door 7, and 4, 6, 7 go through door 8. Option B, 4, 5, and 7 go through 7, and 3, 6, and 8 go through 8. Option C, 3, 6, and 7 go through 7, and 4, 5, and 8 get 8. Those are the only 3 options. That's it. At least if we want to get all 6 of us out of here.
Wait.
This was when Junpei realized. Okay, yep. Repeat of the plans. Thing is, Akane and I cannot go into, or June and I cannot go into the same door.
But that means 5 and 6 can never be on the same team. If we want all 6 of us to go through a door, then June and I can't go into the same one.
June and Junpei had been friends for so long. Trusted her more than anyone else on the ship. If he chose 7 or 8, he'd be taken away from her. That was something was that something he was prepared to do?
Have you mulled it over enough, or do you need more time? Anyway, that's the deal, so think it over. You've got 2 choices, 7 or 8. You can't choose 3. If you choose 3, you're gonna be leaving 3 people behind to die. So what are you gonna do? 7 or 8? Time to choose.
Alright, I'm gonna try it.
Sorry, Santa, but I still want to go through door 3.
What? That's nuts! You've got to be crazy! Why the hell are you so obsessed with that door?
I'm just...
Junpei paused. He swallowed the words he'd been about to say.
I'm just curious about door 3. That's all.
That doesn't explain shit!
I've got a reason. I'd be happy to explain it to you if you'll just come with me.
With that, he began walking toward the door. Their curiosity likely getting the better of them, the others followed. A few of them looked a little suspicious, but Junpei told himself that wouldn't matter. He kept walking and kept silent. Eventually they arrived at the number 3 door. Junpei stopped.
I'm curious about the red. 7, would you mind authenticating for me?
What? Why?
Please, just do it.
He stared at Junpei for a moment and then grunted and laid his palm heavily on the scanner.
Happy?
Yeah, thanks. number 7 has been entered into the red.
Next is June. Please touch the red just like 7 did.
Jumpy, what are you trying to figure out?
Ah, yep. I think I might have found another way out.
What?
Really?
I got them excited just as Junpei intended.
Now please, June.
Oh, okay.
Is 4. Nine.
All right. The only people who haven't authenticated now are Santa, Clover, and Lotus.
So, what's your point?
You don't get it. Think about it.
Huh?
What's the sum of your number and Clover's?
12.
And what's the digital root of that?
3.
Which is Santa's number. By the way, Lotus, what's the number that's currently in the red?
7 plus 6 plus 5 equals 18. It would be 9, right?
Yes, and what will the digital root be if you add 3 to that?
3. The door's number.
There you go.
Hey, wait a minute. What the hell are you up to?
I'm not up to anything. I'm just waiting.
Waiting for what?
I'm waiting for the balance to shift. Santa, or Lotus and Clover. Once one of you moves, the others won't have a choice. So I'm waiting.
Junpei laid his hand almost casually on the lever.
You son of a bitch! You tricked us! All that stuff you were going on about is all bullshit!
Bullshit? No, I don't think so. Didn't I tell you I'd figured out another way to get out of here? This is it.
Why the hell would you do something like this?
Junpei glanced at June.
Jumpy.
You did this just so you could go through the same door as June. That's it?
Santa was furious. His face was red and flecks of spit flew from his lips as he spoke. Junpei closed his eyes calmly and then opened them again.
So, who's it going to be? Santa? Or Lotus and Clover?
Shit!
Let's go, Clover. Huh?
Lotus leapt forward. She grabbed Clover by the sleeve and ran for Junpei and the door.
Fuck!
Caught by surprise, Santa froze for a moment and then shot forward like a bullet from a gun. Lotus had a head start, but Santa had the advantage in size and speed. Almost immediately he passed Lotus and Clover.
No, wait!
Santa did not hesitate. He slammed his hand down on the red.
This is insane! This isn't right!
He glared at Junpei, his chest heaving.
Yeah, well, you may be right.
Junpei's voice was cold, but not without effort.
But
The sound of metal on metal, the door opened. It would only remain open for so For 9 seconds, there was no time to think.
Go.
Junpei and his 3 reluctant companions jumped into the door's gaping mouth one after another. The detonators had activated.
No.
They stood still, stopped where they had been. Santa reached the red. The defeat and desperation on their faces tore at Junpei's heart. Then the door closed and they were gone.
You son of a bitch, Junpei! This isn't fair!
Santa rounded on Junpei, lightning crackling in his eyes and his knuckles
Do you
white.
realize what you just did? You leave them out there, and they can't...
Shut it! It's enough!
It had been Junpei that spoke with 7.
We gotta find the dead or none of this is gonna matter!
Clock was ticking. The dead was their only chance at survival. Unless they could find it and deactivate their detonators, the 4 of them would be.
We got less than a minute left! No time for screwing around! Get moving!
Damn it! You and I are not done yet, bastard!
Nowhere to be found.
Where the hell is it?
Corridor stretched out in 3 directions, but everyone was blocked off by a wall of metal. There's only one way out. One other
Over
door.
there! It's gotta be behind the door!
7 ran for the door, rusty iron thing. His large hands grabbed a hold of the handle and pulled.
Damn, it's pitch dark inside.
Can't see a thing!
Junpei stuck his head through the door and looked around the room.
Wait!
Almost immediately he spotted the blinking red light on the
I
red
found it!
wall.
The dead's right over here!
He stepped into the room.
Ugh. What? The floor's slippery!
He stopped and glanced down at his feet. What
Hey,
was?
what the hell are you doing?
There's something...
Get over there!
Felt 7's heavy hand against his back and stumbled across the room. The other 3 piled in behind him. They all felt immediately that something was wrong. Nothing that could be easily identified, only a sense that something terrible shared the room with them. There was no time to say so.
Get to the dead!
They all started running. In the dark, it was hard to tell where the wall was. I could see it was the tiny red light blinking at them over and over and over.
There it is!
In a quick succession, they all slammed their hands against the scanner panel. Seven leaned against the wall, gulping air. As his breathing began to return to normal, he glanced at his left wrist and grunted.
It stopped. It stopped.
I don't think I'll ever get used to doing this.
What the...
Sound of retching came from Santa's direction.
What the hell is this smell? This is vile. I'm gonna puke.
So desperate had they been in their race to the dead that no one had noticed the horrible smell that pervaded the room. It was terrible, nauseating stench like burnt and rotten meat. Adrenaline had drowned it out, but now they rolled over Junpei in waves, forcing itself into his nose with every breath he took.
Oh, you're right. Oh, this is...
He felt his stomach clench and bile rise up in his throat.
Let's get the lights on first. There's a switch over here.
The light that spilled in from the door barely illuminated a small switch plate next to the door. Slowly, with the toll of the last few minutes apparent in his gait, Seven walked toward it. He stopped as he got close, extended his fingers toward the switch.
Flipping it on.
Soft click as the lights came on. Just as the light turned on, June took in a short breath and a scream echoed through the room. Junpei's breath stopped in his throat. His heart ceased to beat. Time froze. His mind scrambled to make sense of what he saw before him.
What? Hey.
Oh, this is...
What was left of the body sat in a sea of blood. Chunks of flesh torn from the body sat in blood like tiny islands in a great red sea. A vast ragged hole had been torn in the torso, and what remained of his intestines spilled out of it like fresh spaghetti. Smaller chunks of meat had splattered against the walls and become stuck there as they dried. Globules of yellowish fat had left trails like tiny slugs as gravity pulled them down the wall even as they dried too.
Looks like an explosion.
Seven's voice was low and strained.
Just like the ninth man. The detonator in his bracelet set off the bomb in his gun.
Oh god. The bone is coming out of his left arm. It's definitely an open fracture.
It looked as though the explosion had been quite powerful. His legs were both bent in an odd, unnatural way, and his left arm had split open, exposing the painfully white bone of his ulna. His bracelet lay next to him. It seemed to have hit the wall hard enough to have shattered the display, which lay on the ground in pieces.
Face is the worst.
Yeah, you can't even tell who it is.
Half of his head had simply collapsed. The blood coating was made it look like a raw pizza dough covered in some tomato sauce. His clothes, too, were covered in blood. The burgundy tie, the white shirt, the jacket with the yellow piping, the gray slacks.
But the clothes are...
They were all familiar to Junpei.
Is that... Snake?
Santa's voice wavered as he spoke, his mouth dry.
Oh my god.
Finally, Junpei spoke.
Why did this happen?
Suddenly, June was screaming, her voice broken. It was an eerie scream full of insanity and not entirely human. She shook her head violently and grabbed fistfuls of her own hair. Junpei could hear the sound of hair tearing.
Stop! Calm down.
He grabbed for her wrist.
Hey!
But as he did, Junpei leapt up and ran.
Please! Get me out of here! You have to...
She screamed at the door and her fist slammed against it with a hollow sound. Junpei could see drops of blood on her knuckles.
Why are you doing these horrible things to us? What did we do to deserve this?
June.
She screamed again, a desperate, mindless cry. Her fist flailed at the door.
Get me out of here! Please! Please! Just let me out!
June!
Junpei couldn't watch anymore. He ran to June and wrapped his arm around her, pulling the screaming girl away from the door.
Calm down.
No! Get off of me!
please, calm down.
She scrambled for a moment, her legs skittering across the floor, but her resistance didn't last long. As suddenly as her outburst had begun, it was over. The amanic energy disappeared and her body went limp in Junpei's arms. June collapsed toward the floor and Junpei knelt down with her. He felt drops of something warm and wet. Was she crying? A moment later she began to sob. Where are her bloody knuckles? Her shoulders shook, and great hot tears rolled down her face like rain.
We're gonna be fine. It's gonna be alright, June. It's going to be okay, Connie.
Name was a whisper.
I'll be here with you, okay?
She nodded once.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jumpy.
Her trembling voice pulled at Junpei's heart. He stroked her hair gently. His face was so close to her. The scent of her hair was nostalgic.
Feel better?
Yes, but I'd like to stay here.
Let's go for down the... Yeah, we still have the escape the room scenario, and then... Yeah. Alright.
For a little while, at least. Jumpy's body is so warm.
Really? So 4 minutes passed before June's tears had dried. Junpei stood up. They didn't speak. Yeah. Another 7 or Santa. Person was dead. They had died in that room in a terrible way. There was no way any of them could forget it, but mourning would do no good. They spread out to search the room, but each felt as if their heart was made of lead.
We better get to it.
Alright, seek a way out. That's where we came in. It's not locked, but there ain't any point. So there's a numbered door. We can't go back to the numbered door even if we wanted to. These letters written in blood. There might be some sort of dying message from Snake. No, that's impossible. You saw the body. Aren't you going to do anything after something like that happens to you? And this, the way the blood's dried tells you it's real old. Whoever this is, it ain't Snake's. You're saying that blood was put here a long time ago? Yeah. Interesting. This is LOR. Left, right. Let's see if anything happens when I turn you. Nope, nothing. Not even a drop. Pipe clogged. The piece of paper tied to the pipe with a wire. Notice drainage valve operation. Please do not flush the water in these pipes. Doing so may cause the drain to overflow. Okay. Looks like the flow of water can be controlled with these handles. You can't put any water through the pipe on the right though. If we do that, it'll start overflowing from the drain. We'll probably have to do that here in a minute. Shit, it's hot. Really hot. Man, that water must be just about boiling. Now though. Wooden box. There's something in here. Luminol. What is this thing? Some kind of spray bottle? Something written on it. Luma. Everything else. It was all faded. Let me see that. That wasn't very nice. Oh, this is luminol. Forensics guys use it at crime scenes. Oh yeah, that stuff that glows blue when you spray it on blood. If the blood's been wiped off, it'll still glow. Toilet paper. A bucket. Stand back. Hey, jump. Hey, come on, Oak. Fast and fast. X, Y, X. Switch. Got red symbols on it. What the hell is that? You have a piece of paper around a stick and then write several sentences on it. The whole paper is filled up. Then you unwrap the paper and you can't tell what the original message was, right? That's how it works more or less. With cipher, you gotta have a stick that's the same diameter as the original one. Yeah. Paper around the stick and you can read the code. Interesting.
The rabbit hutch.
Huh?
You turn around. June still looks sadly pale, but there was a smile on her face.
Oh, you just reminded me of it. The rabbit hutch, I mean.
How did I remind you of something like that?
Jumpy and the broom. You're always playing around with the broom in front of the rabbit hutch.
I was.
Hmm.
Don't you remember? You mean you don't remember that summer either?
She looked very sad. He shook his head.
Of course I remember. How could I forget something like that? It was terrible.
Flashback, you guys. They were in 6th grade. Junpei and June had been assigned to take care of the classroom pets, the rabbits. Their chief duty was to clean the hutches every morning. On the final day of school, before summer vacation began, Junpei overslept. He rushed to school and found June standing in front of the rabbit hutches. No sooner had Junpei arrived than June began to cry. He had no idea why until he looked behind her into the rabbit hutch. First thing he saw was blood. The hutch was filled with the dead bodies of the rabbits. Even after their teachers and friends came to see what the commotion was, June couldn't stop crying.
I just kept crying and crying until you came over. You held my hand and you looked very serious and you said, "Don't cry. I'm gonna catch the person who did this." After you told me that, I finally stopped crying.
Well, the real fun started after you quit crying. You told me we were gonna catch the killer together.
Then we decided that we'd ambush them.
Yeah, I remember.
The school also kept roosters and guinea pigs. Junpei and June had decided the murderer would likely try to finish off the rest of the animals. They would ambush the killer at night. June and Junpei hid behind the hutch. at dusk and waited. It was a warm summer night. The quiet sound of crickets whispered through the air. As the sun went down, the stars began to wink at them from the sky. In June's, Akane Kuroshiki's face. That night was something Junpei knew he would never forget as long as he lived.
But the murderer never showed up. We waited for them all summer vacation, and they never showed up.
Yeah, but the animals didn't get attacked either. I think all that work amounted to something, you know?
Yeah.
Although, you know, if you think about it, we were probably taking on a lot more than we could handle.
What do you mean?
She looked up at him confused.
Oh, come on, we were just kids. If whoever killed the rabbits had actually showed up, they probably would have had a knife or something. I mean, you must have been pretty worried, right?
I wasn't worried because you were there with me.
She blushed furiously.
No one else wanted to take care of the animals.
No one. Clearly embarrassed, she tried desperately to change the
I was
subject.
the only one who asked to do it at first.
Yeah, boys don't really want to bother with taking care of animals, you know?
Well, yeah, but you asked to do it after I did, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't the rabbits, they were going to make me do something else. You know how that school was. I figured it'd be better if I was working with somebody who wasn't too much of a loudmouth, right? Somebody who wasn't going to tell on me if I felt like blowing it off.
Really? That's why you volunteered?
Yeah, it is.
Really?
I gotta turn on a light. It's very dark now.
Of course.
That hadn't been the reason, of course. He had asked to take care of the rabbits so that he could be near June. But it had been so long ago he couldn't bring himself to tell her how he felt back then. It would be embarrassing. Took a quick breath to clear his head, tossed the broom up, and then snatched it out of the air.
We don't really have time to be walking down memory lane like this. We've got to figure out a way out of this room.
Yes. I'm gonna look over there.
June nodded curtly and then turned and walked
I
away.
should get back to it myself. Ah, that's right. The pool of blood.
Ugh. Junpei turned around and looked at the room. At Snake's body, chunks of flesh and organs still lay on the floor.
Going on and on about old times right next to a corpse? What were we doing? Well,
Human
maybe it
things.
was because we're in this mess.
Yep. Despite such a situation, or perhaps because of it, the mind turned to the farthest thing from death it could find. Still, Junpei couldn't help but feel a twinge of guilt at wanting so desperately to live when Snake lay dead before him.
I have to survive, no matter the cost.
Correct.
I need to make sure she gets out too.
Yes. Got a broom. What are you doing with the broom? If I wrap the room over. Says 634 plus instead of the toilet paper. It's the toilets. Looks like tar. It's kind of sticky. Don't think we can just wipe it off. Not pouring some water, and it's gonna help much other. What about hot water? Hot water? If we had some really hot water, like boiling hot, maybe we could wash it off. Nothing in the toilet. If there was, that would be gross. Nothing unusual there. Alright. It's a thermometer. Can you get it off? Nope. Screw it onto the wall. We're gonna do But you don't really think you're supposed to use the luminol here, do you? Yeah, it does seem kind of weird to use it here. But maybe we should just try it just in case. Okay, spread the luminol on the wall. What's next? Left, left, right, left, right, left. It's a paradiddle. Left, left, right, left, right, left. Left, left, right, left, right, left. Left, right, left, right, left. Bucket filled with hot water. If I flush the hot water from the bucket, that should clean it up. Hey, a blue key card. It's Mercury. It's off. That light is off. Yeah, it still says lock. It just came on. Alright. Okay. Oh, I see. Screwdriver. Nice. Alright. What did you oh, I guess the handle's over there. 185. Looks like the writing was the numbers. Yeah. 185. What is this? Just like some numbers.
Hey, June, you know why thermometers only go up to 107 degrees Fahrenheit?
No.
I can't say I ever thought about that.
At 107 degrees, the cells in the human body start to die, and the organs begin to shut down. The proteins in your cells start to harden. It's like when you hard-boil an egg. Even if you cool it down afterwards, it won't go back to being a raw egg. In other words, it's dead.
Cheerful.
That's why thermometers don't go past 107. There's no...
Oh yeah?
But it's pretty rare for a fever to get that high. Even viruses and stuff don't usually drive the body temperature up to 107. Of course, there are other external things that could.
Like what?
Well, let's see. Something like getting locked in a sauna. Or getting thrown into an incinerator and burnt to death.
Lovely.
Yeah, I guess that would get a little hotter than 107 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, I got it. Huh? What's up?
Nothing. Forget about it.
What was that all about?
It was open at the bottom of the gauge. What that means. It's hot, something will open. And it's at the open mark. It opened. What's this? Looks like there's a piece of paper in here. 957 plus 634. We got that. Problem is, add to what? Six, 3, 4. The digital root would be 4. Nine, 6, or 957 would be 3. So 4 plus 3. And then that would be 5. Yeah. Check the tank of this guy. Oh hey, yeah, key card. Red key card. Huh, blue light was just on, but this one's off now. Red light's on instead. So we have to swipe the card first and then the blue card. Alright. Let's see who's what. Alright. Okay. Alright. What was it on the... Here again. 185. 185. Let's get a good old calculator going. Because I am in the mood to do basic arithmetic. 6, 3, 4 plus, what was it? It was 957 plus 185 equals 1776. Yeah. Open. You found it.
There's a large iron door at the end.
Let's take a look.
They moved a few steps toward the door when Junpei heard the sound of metal on metal.
Huh?
They turned around. Seven was doing something to the door of the shower.
Well, I figure maybe we might want to come back here sometime. So, I stuck the broom in there to keep the door from shutting. Alright, let's go.
With that, he stood up and began walking down the hallway. He brushed past Junpei and kept going. After a moment, the rest of them followed him. Before long, they found themselves at the large iron door. They'd only been there a moment before when June spoke to them.
Jumpy, look!
There on the right side of the hallway was a piece of paper
What's
attached
up?
to the wall.
What's that on the wall there?
Oh, I think it's a map of the ship's interior?
Yep.
It says C deck.
So it's the map for this floor then.
Yep.
We'll have time to study it later. Let's keep going for now.
Well, the map and stuffed it in his pocket. Santa stepped forward. He grabbed the hole of the door and then turned back to look at us.
I'm gonna open it.
They nodded. Santa nodded back and threw open the door. All four of them let through.
What the?
You're shitting me.
It took only a moment for them to realize where they were.
Back.
They had been there only a short time ago. It was the large hospital room filled with countless beds. Lotus and Clover looked up as they entered. Ace was there as well, though he looked as though he had just woken up.
Clover! Lotus! And Ace! I'm glad you're all okay.
4, 8, and 1. So they would have been able to go through the 4 door.
Lotus? What are you?
The moment there he spotted Lotus and Clover headed straight for him. As she neared him, Lotus drew back her hand and slapped him open palmed across the face.
How could you do this to us?
She grabbed Junpei by the collar and shook him violently. It was Seven who stopped them.
Knock it off! We got bigger shit to worry about right now.
His deep voice echoed across the massive room.
What?
Go have a look. I stuck the screwdriver in the door. That door over there, the one without a number. As long as the screwdriver's there, it can't shut, so you can get in there. There's a shower room past there. I stuck a broom at the door there too. Anyway, go take a look.
Then you're saying we can go in there without passing through the numbered door?
Yeah, it's about the size of it.
Wait, what the hell is in there?
You'll know when you see it.
Fine, let's go.
And then Ace had made his way to them, moving with the stiff, shuffling steps of someone who's only just awoken from a lengthy slumber.
I
I know I said I was sure you'd come back for me. I didn't think it would happen so soon, though.
He shook his head weakly.
Should I go as well?
Yeah.
7 nodded. His followed Lotus Clover with a stiff, tired gait. Squeal of tortured metal made Junpei's teeth curl. It sounded like the noise a ghost would make. No matter how many times he heard it, he never got used to it. Every time, it put him on edge. Didn't help that there was a girl nearby who looked far more like a ghost than a living human should. It was Clover. She sat on the edge of the bed, her head drooping listlessly onto her chest. Her eyes were blank and stared across the room at nothing. Her breathing was slow and mechanical. Aside from the rise and fall of her chest, she didn't move. Junpei felt as even a nudge might cause her to shatter into 1,000 pieces.
Snake was probably murdered. Chances are he was killed the same way the Ninth Man was.
Seven lowered his voice, likely enough to keep Clover from hearing what he had to say. There were 4 other people in the room with Junpei and 7. Ace, Santa, June, and Lotus. 7 looked at each of them in turn and continued.
It's pretty straightforward. Not that hard to figure out how they did it. First, the killers got Snake to authenticate on the red to open door 3. Then they shoved him into it, alone, and waited 9 seconds for the door to shut. Once that door shut, it was all over for Snake, but he didn't give up. He probably knew it wouldn't do him any good, but he probably ran into the shower room looking for the dead. It was a small chance, but it wasn't like he had anything to lose. Unfortunately, it didn't work. The detonator is only deactivated if everybody who authenticated when they went in uses the dead. Snake was the only one who went through the door. And then, 81 seconds after he was shoved in, that happened.
I see. So that's what you meant by killers, huh? You need at least 3 people to open one of the numbered doors, including Snake. It wouldn't open for Snake and a single killer.
Yeah. That means we're looking at multiple perps here.
Junpei crossed his arms and
Well,
grunted.
just in case, I want to make sure. Let's say you're right. When do you think Snake was killed?
When we all split up to look for the parts for the Reds, I think. Right after that was when we noticed he was gone.
Then that means none of us have alibis. We were all off searching the rooms we'd been assigned, looking for those parts.
Yeah, that means anybody could be a killer.
Wait a minute. What are you talking about?
June seemed
How
shocked.
can you say that so casually? You're implying that one of us is a killer.
Well, not just one of us. If I'm right, then at least 2 of us are murderers.
Why don't you calm down a bit, Seven? What are you going to gain by being so suspicious? That's what Zero wants, you know?
What Zero wants?
Exactly. This game was set up by Zero, wasn't it? Any game has a winner and loser. Whoever makes it through door 9 is a winner, and those who don't are the losers. Zero is trying to make us fight against one another for that victory.
Then you're saying that Zero is trying to split us up by making us fight each other?
Yes, that is why we can't let ourselves fall prey to suspicion. We have to trust one another and form a strong bond of friendship. Otherwise, we'll end up ensnared by Zero's manipulation.
Then does that mean that the person who killed Snake...
Yes, almost certainly Zero himself. If there's anyone we should doubt, it should be Zero.
Yeah, we've heard this before. How far are we?
Master, doesn't it seem reasonable that he would have killed Snake as well?
It's Zero.
Sounds was cold and clammy, and Jinbei could feel it crawling across his back and around his throat. Again, he heard the ghosting moaning noise. Moments later, a person who looked more like a ghost than human appeared. It was Clover. She looked at the floor as she spoke, and her voice was a cold monotone.
I think Zero is one of us.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That's crazy. Isn't this ship going to sink in a few hours? If Zero was here with us, he'd be putting himself in danger. Why the hell would he do something like that? There's no motive.
Clover looked at Junpei and her face fell.
Don't believe me.
Her eyes were so pitiful. The moment Junpei met him, he felt his heart tighten. He didn't think what he said was wrong, but perhaps the way he had said it had been, he'd been too insensitive. Clover had just lost her brother. Junpei barely knew him, and the sight had been enough to make him sick. What Clover had felt, he couldn't begin to imagine. In the mental state she must have been in, it was understandable that she would look at those around her with suspicion. She felt everyone was against her. At least the least Junpei could have done was try to understand what she was feeling. He felt ashamed of what he'd said. Perhaps, he thought, I should apologize, but before that apology could begin...
Clover, I understand what you're feeling. You don't feel that you can trust any of us.
Ace had beaten Junpei to the punch. As he spoke Clover, his face was calm and friendly.
You have to understand, the more we distrust one another, the further we fall into our true foe's trap. Zero was the one who did those horrible things to your brother. Do you want to let yourself be manipulated by someone who would do such a horrible thing?
Clover didn't answer. She didn't even look at Ace. The whole time her eyes were on Junpei. He could feel Clover's eyes boring into him. They were the color of a deep winter lake. Junpei saw no suspicion in them, only sadness. Then in that horrible silence.
Then we need to move now. 7. Clover.
Yeah.
I know how you feel, but you do understand.
Their eyes were looking at something somewhere else
We
very
must
far.
go. We have very little time left.
Ace's words put their feet to moving. They all knew where they were
Our
going.
next destination is... Here we go.
Oh, that.
Yeah, I found it in the shower.
Oh, I see. It's got the Mercury symbol.
Now we can go.
7 people, including Junpei, climbed onto the elevator.
Looks like there's only 2 floor buttons working.
C and bottom.
The rest were destroyed or did nothing when pushed. Door closed. Slowly began to move downward. Sometime later, all 7 of them stepped off the elevator onto the bottom deck. They stepped off and saw that the hallway to the right ended somewhere between 20 and 25 feet from them. The hallway in front of them was a dead end.
This is a numbered door.
Yeah, it's door 2.
Immediately they began to discuss who would go through it.
So who should go through the door this time?
We don't need to be discussing who we're leaving behind this time, right?
Right. It's set up so we'll be able to meet up again once we get through the numbered doors.
Then there's no need for arguments at this point.
We should figure out who's going in first.
Very well. Would anyone like to volunteer?
I'll do it.
First to speak up was
I'll
7.
go too.
Then I suppose I need to go too, then.
All right.
Okay.
Jesus.
Oh,
Jim blushed and so did Jim.
Don't be silly. Cut it out.
Perhaps in an attempt to hide his emotions, he quickly turned away to pull the lever on the red. The door opened as they'd come to expect. There appeared to be a short hallway in
All
those.
right, let's go.
This was first through the door.
Let's do this.
It was next to Junpei brought up the where.
Where the hell is it this time?
I don't see it!
Oh, there it is!
They'd been placed just inside the room next to the number door. Together they ran and quickly scanned ahead.
It stopped.
Yeah, it stopped.
Junpei could feel his heart pounding against the side of his ribs. So I'm gonna notice we're breathing hard and fast.
Man, I'll never get used to that.
I'm not sure it's something I'd want to get used to. We should finish this game before imminent death becomes a normal thing. All right. This hallway's pretty on the left, and only one on the right.
Don't forget the last one.
But it's got a metal plate open.
Yeah, we did all this already. Okay, seek way out. We've done this one before, so I'm gonna jump to a different part of the timeline. Alright, so we have now played through almost everything. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the stream there, and then when we pick it up, hopefully we get our other endings in fairly quick succession. Alright. See you all next time. Bye.